Welcome to Whole Lot of Wolves, episode 37 of season 3. We're your hosts. I'm Joshua Buckley.
I'm Paul LePage.
And just like Raul and Potence, Alex Patakis from New York, our great producer, back in action this week. How's it going, Alex?
It's good. It's good. Getting a little
Unlike
run
them,
in
you
after an
weren't,
absence.
yeah, unlike them, you weren't banished and had to, uh, subtweet over Instagram. You just couldn't make it because of a work thing. But we made sure and got your prediction in, which was wrong like the rest of ours. So good job.
Yeah.
And then joining us once again, one of our great guests, Mr. Brian Donley of Charlotte Wolves. How's it going?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, what's up with Charlotte FC this year? A little struggling, huh?
We are currently in a seven-way tie for sixth in the Eastern Conference because basically half of that conference is on 15 points after a huge win in Atlanta this weekend.
That's okay. I went to a Dynamo game where it was very nearly at the end, 8-11. The
Oh,
Dynamo had a
wow.
straight red given in the first half, and then Hector Herrera got a second yellow, which you could see coming for 15 minutes. He, very much like the Wolves, decided, fuck this shit. I just want out. Because that's sure what it looked like, guys. On Saturday, I said, boy, it's a big joke out here, especially the NBA when the NBA playoffs are going on, that when guys are getting ready for the off season and they're just kind of rolling over, they go 1, 2, 3, Cancun. And I feel like that was kind of what the Wolves players did against Manchester United on Saturday. It was a 2-0 loss, Paul. It could have been a lot worse. Not really sure what the plan was. I mean, okay, they had possession for a little bit, but kind of a snoozer, just, going through the motions. It's very clear they're safe, very clear they're looking forward to their vacation.
It did have a horrible air of inevitability about it. And when you're getting excited about one guy's dribble that results in a foul, and that's really the biggest takeaway, then there isn't a whole ton to get excited about, even to the extent that we wanted to see that variation of the 4-4-2 away. Yet there was no even a sniff of attacking intent, it seems. So if you play in that formation, you're really expecting something from at least one of the wide players, and it was Neto starting, and it was pretty much Zilch down the left hand side. We came into it a little more in the second half, but to not force their keeper into a save, I don't care where you're playing, away from home against a Big Six team, it's not good. So we unfortunately have to draw a line under it. Hopefully he takes something from it in terms of either those that are staying or those that are going, and it's another step closer to this season ending.
Brian, it didn't seem to me like I could tell early on they weren't scoring. That's the way it seemed very early on. Did you have that impression as well?
Yes, very much. You could just see multiple points when Cunha wouldn't even pass the halfway line. That it felt like there was no energy to try and get anything forward, which was incredibly frustrating because overall, I mean, there were multiple mistakes, but as a totality, the defense was pretty good, but they just couldn't move. Yeah, it's almost like they couldn't be bothered to get it past halfway. As soon as they did, something happened.
Yeah, and what was weird is possession was, kind of even for most of the game. It seemed like the creativity wasn't there. And then with some of the subs, the creativity that was there was bullshit creativity, Mr. Daniel Potence, back heel to nothing. Even with the subs, Paul, it was a little odd just seeing like the people he was bringing in, like Raul and Potence haven't been able to sniff the field for a while, and they're being passive aggressive on Instagram, and suddenly they're getting in there. What did you make of that?
In terms of subs, just reflecting on the season, that at one point we were looking at that bench and thinking how sparse it was. We've got no one to come on and make a difference. we're still looking at that bench thinking, oh, we've got people to come on, but they're doing that and still not making a difference. So what has changed? And I just think it's more the kind of collective in that regardless of it being Raul or Podence, Wang even, Traore, you can list all of those attackers all the way down. And really at the moment you go in, if all of them ship out, you're not losing much. Even Neto, I like Neto's coming back. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. Give him a proper pre-season and everything. I suppose probably Wang is stock's probably never been higher than under Lopetegui, but we still go back to the fact that he is a 12 million pound player that's probably best off the bench, not in that caliber to start as a squad player. Fine, I've got no complaints, but you can't look at him and think, oh, I'm going to build the attacking output around Wang. So,
well, you're certainly building a preseason tour around Wang.
Potentially, yeah. I think the dying embers of trying to squeeze some commercialism out of this squad, because they certainly missed the trick with Raul and the way that one's heading. So who's left? Let's tap into that South Korean market before it's too late. But again, you're talking about a squad player who didn't cost a lot of money. You get what you pay for, and he's in and around the bench and potentially coming off from there. Everyone else, I think I saw a tweet over the weekend, or I retweeted it. Someone said that making the proper signings for those wider players this summer is just as crucial as this heralded centre forward. And I think that's bang on, because you could have Haaland in our team and he'd probably get one chance a game. He'd probably score, but that's about it. So it's a bigger problem than just having a centre forward.
Yeah, it really is. And one of those wingers, Brian, was Podence. And I think I speak for a lot of people, I know it's you, when he did that back heel to no one in particular, I just threw up my hands. I'm done. I feel like I've said that before, but I'm absolutely positively, please just leave. I don't even care if it's free. I don't care if we have to give like tickets to the Wolverhampton Zoo with him. Like, he's got to go, man.
He's just got to go. It's just, as soon as he came on, my first thought was, oh, just don't do something stupid. And then, yeah, it's just getting so frustrating. And like, or also when he made that one run, like the one run into the box and someone brushed into him and he laid down there.
Ugh.
Even the commentators were like, oh, come on, just get up. Get up. Yeah. And I think I have to imagine everyone's sick. Like all the fans are definitely sick of him, and we're ready to move on. And yeah, he'll come up with a worldie a couple of times a year, but the rest of the time it's just so annoying. Like,
he's one in three, isn't he? It's not just us being hypercritical. If there was a genuine player with Podence, we'd have seen it, I'm sure. And it's
four years?
Yeah, he's had the chances, and you could talk about contributions that he's made this season, and fair enough. I still think there'd be a lot more if he played a lot more direct, and I don't think he's gonna change.
Here's what I'll say, and I bet Alex.
So
yeah, here's what I'll say, and I bet Alex will agree with this. Daniel Podence is everything that Americans who hate soccer point at and say that's the reason why. Diving for no reason, trying to be fancy and just doing something stupid, complaining about everything. I mean, the Americans that complain about soccer, they're complaining about guys like Daniel Podence. And that's why I try and tell people, like, in the EPL, the fans don't like when the players are diving like Podence. I mean, we hear that all the time, just like, oh, just get up and go. And yeah, it was, I can't do it. Alex, do you think that's a pretty good synopsis there?
Yeah, I do. And I think you're right to say that. I think, I feel like English fans are arguably even more agitated than Americans are about that because they appreciate a bit of grit. And like
Mhm.
everyone talks about the kind of player that succeeds in the Premier League. It's just not his league. Like he could go on, maybe play in Spain, maybe play back in Portugal. I could see, I mean, he came to us from Greece, so like, that league isn't. Maybe it is physical, but it's it's probably like a very different kind of physical in the Greek Super League. So I would, yeah, it's time to move on, and I could see him being okay somewhere else, just not in England.
Yeah, and I get he's a small guy, like he's gonna get pushed around some, but there are
Small guy.
times to make strategic, like, oh, kind of overdoing it, but he does it all the time, and so now referees just ignore it when it is a legit thing, Paul.
I remember going back to his debut, and it took a while because I think it was his debut. Might not have been. It was when we came back from lockdown. It was Everton at home.
Mhm.
They played really well. He started, and obviously, I think he'd come in during the winter window,
Yeah.
and not necessarily being blooded by Nuno because that was his thing. And he looked dangerous then. He was in and around the box, and that's where he won a foul, and that's where his skill set really came into its own when he was in and around the box causing trouble like that. Close control, a little bit of skill to beat a man and earn the foul there. And whether I don't know whether there's been a deterioration with that, or he thinks he's too cute to do it. There's never been even that craft to try and win something legitimately. So it's time to cut our losses on that one. We can do better, I'm sure of it.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
you kind of said it. He is a little guy. He probably would get the benefit of the doubt if he didn't dive constantly. I mean, you saw the move Wang made where he didn't get taken out, but he got tripped up and he kept it going. He very easily could have rolled over and been like, "Oh, guys, my ankle." Maybe would have gotten a call, maybe he wouldn't have,
mhm.
but he kept going for it, and I think people like that. Like, I think that's why people like. At least I Wayne can be frustrating, but when he's on, I like how much he works. And if Podence put in half of the effort, half the determination,
Yeah.
half of the cutesy maneuvers, I think people would like him because he does have a little bit of grit, and that's the one thing that we've been lacking for a while. Like of was it last year? There's kind of like this kind of no a-holes policy on the club,
Mhm.
which is great because there's a lot of good team harmony, but it also sometimes means you'll get that lack of cutting edge. And for a while, he was our closest thing to like a gritty a-hole, but now he's just kind of an a-hole and not the gritty kind.
Love it.
And I think we're just all tired.
Yeah. Well, especially when you see a player like Cunha who is seemingly every game he has a run where he's getting fouled 2 or 3 times and he keeps going. And I really have to remind myself that he's Brazilian because normally, Brazilians definitely have that stereotype where they're going to go down at anything. And you can blame Neymar for really bringing that more into focus. But Cunha, I mean, that's somebody you want to talk about the gritty guy. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
he's playing really gritty, Brian.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I'm like, because he's pretty slight, you don't really think he's going to get into it that well, and does get knocked over a fair amount because he's not a big dude. But when you watch him like muscle through stuff, yeah, he is working. And I think when he first kind of came in, there was a little bit where I kind of felt like he was pressing a little too hard. But now I feel like he's getting more comfortable. I am really looking forward to seeing him next year. I think he could really grow in, especially in that kind of like that 10 role. I'm really excited to see what he can turn into here.
Yeah, Paul, do you think he's in the right role now? It feels like he's really showcasing some of his skills, even though he's not scoring per se. Um, he's still kind of showing what he's all about in this new role.
Very much so, and I can see it getting better and better. We've again another player that's going to benefit from the full pre-season. even he wasn't getting any football as well prior to him coming over, even when we signed him. So he had that time needed to catch up. So I think there's a ton of potential with Cunha in that position, based on the fact that I think it offers a lot of flexibility with the players that he can play up top against. I think it's exciting to have him in that role.
Yeah, he just really needs that, you know, bloodthirsty number 9 there to play
I
with.
think it's a variety. I think you could play him with a big man who holds the ball up. I think you could play him with a play off the last shoulder, smaller, quicker number 9 who's bursting along to get into the box. So I think with the right partnership, that could really thrive.
Well, the other big thing that I think we could take away from this game Saturday, which there wasn't much, but Dan Bentley came in, made his EPL debut, and he was fantastic, guys. I mean, he really kept Wolves in that game for a long time with some of his saves, and even the goals that were made, not even his fault. What were your thoughts, Paul? I mean, he would be, if Wolves had come through, he definitely would have been man of the match.
Yeah, I think what he was asked to do, he did it really well. I'm not sure if the move was made to see what he'd be like playing out from the back, whether that complements the style. His kicking wasn't majorly accurate. I think, especially in the first half, he might have put a couple out of play from those plays. But he didn't really panic in terms of those situations. It did seem that he was comfortable with the ball at his feet. I think he was obviously he was worked, which put him in a positive light. I don't think he did anything that Sarr wouldn't have done, apart from not look like he's a potential mistake waiting to happen. So maybe that calmness that he exuded came across a little well, but I don't think we're going to get super excited about that he's the heir apparent. I just think it was a really competent performance from an able number 2 that if needed to call on, he can probably step in and do a job.
I'd say, Brian, probably the biggest thing I got from that game is Saw's probably not the guy this next year, because like Paul said, whenever he's playing out the back and it's at his feet, Saw's like panicking. And he didn't really see that from Bentley, so it made you feel a little bit better out of playing out of the back. What do you think? You think Saw's the starting keeper next year, or are they going to look elsewhere?
That's a good question. I could see it either way. I could definitely see them looking into a new number 1. We've heard rumors of them trying to find someone who at least would be a number 1 caliber who could push him. Who and where that would be, who knows? But yeah, I mean, because it comes to that style that they're looking to play, I could definitely see that he's definitely not comfortable with it, and he definitely seems like the type of keeper who is very big on his confidence, and if that confidence is flowing, he's right, but like when it's not, it's not, and that's tricky. But maybe again, maybe having a very capable, calm, steady number 2 will help in kind of making sure that he knows, hey, I can't lose my head here. I got to keep my cool. And hopefully that'll help kind of guide that into the future as well.
Yeah, Paul, I don't really know if I'd be comfortable with Bentley coming in as the number 1 next year. I agree with you that you can feel good about him as a number 2 guy, but what type of profile do you think Lopetegui is going to go? Because he's already said he's going to sit down with the chairman and tell him what's up, which we'll get into that in a little bit. What kind of profile do you think he's going to be asking for?
Goalkeeper wise, so much rests on that confidence element of what he allows his centre backs to feel, in that you obviously want someone behind you that's competent, can come from a ball and claim it. Obviously good with shot stopping. So those boxes need to be checked. But it seems that it's a definite case that he needs someone who will be fine with the ball at his feet. It definitely seems a style that there's no goal kicks aren't taken long. That's a distinct build up from the back. So that first touch is always out when it comes to a goal kick. So you need to be expecting it back. So I think it's quite it's quite a distinctive skill set now for a keeper that it's not often that it stands out. You've got all those boxes to check and you're looking, thinking, well, who could it be? So I think that the scouting network's really going to be put to the test in terms of someone that checks all of Lopetegui's boxes. If the playing out from the back and the comfort with the ball on your feet is going to be a priority.
I think I'd like to see a keeper that plays for a national team that plays out of the back. So at least there's already that experience. Oh yeah, FYI, the U.S. men's national team plays out of the back. Just throwing that out there. Matt Turner.
Pretty sure
Alex,
he's
we have
comfortable where he is.
What's that?
Pretty sure he's comfortable where he is.
I mean, if you don't
fact,
like playing time, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
you like your paychecks. Alex, we have an early no stupid question here.
Yeah, this might lend itself well to the discussion that we're having now, because Christine WWFC on Twitter asked, how can we improve our away form next year? Only 2 wins this season is pretty poor. So she's referring to Everton and Southampton being the only away wins.
And we can argue those were miracle wins too, especially the Southampton one.
Well, yeah, that was the come from behind João Gomez winner with 10 men.
Yep.
So that was certainly one they probably should not have won. But I think it lends itself well to the goalkeeping discussion, because I went back and looked. Wolves have been one of the best teams at keeping clean sheets at home. How many clean sheets do you think they have on the road this year?
3?
Big fat 0.
I don't know. 2.
1.
Oh, wow. Who was that? Was that Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, and I think it was back in August. So
yeah, that was a 0-0 too, if I remember correctly, right? That was when me and Paul were sitting at Nick's place and we looked at each other, and that was when the two of us were done with Lodge. That nil. Do you remember that, Paul? It was a weekday game. Yeah, it was a weekday game. And we were just sitting there.
Yeah. So it's been a full-term pregnancy since Wolves have kept a clean sheet on the road, which maybe is one way to improve the away form. But to the question in general, I mean, what do you guys think? They've got to be better away from Molineux if they're really going to be, in the top half of the table next season. How can they do it?
Gotta go. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian.
We got to bring Saw's karaoke machine on the bus. He has it at home. Doesn't have it on the road. Obvious correlation here.
Yeah, I mean, and what's funny, weren't they really good last year on the road, if I'm remembering correctly?
I think that's
Paul?
right. I feel like it was like they were really bad at home and really good on the road last year.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe bring Lodge for the away games and Lopetegui for the home games? No. I don't know. Change up the routine. Maybe change the hotels you're staying at. I mean, it may be something as silly as that.
I mean, do you think there's an amount of pressure involved in playing out from the back on the road? I mean, it's like loud no matter where you are. But like, I mean, I guess when you're in the home end of an away stadium, right? So like you're not in front of your own fans in the South Bank or whatever. Maybe there's a little bit more pressure when you're playing that first ball. I don't know.
Are there stats on that? I guess like what is the home field advantage in EPL? Like I know in NFL it's quite large. In Major League Baseball it's like 55%. Like what is the home field in EPL? Do you guys know?
I have no idea.
No.
Maybe we'll look that up for the next one. Add that to your no stupid question list next week, Brian.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can do some. I'll do some stats googling later.
Yeah.
I do enjoy a good stat, so I can do some looking up.
Hold that for the season finale mega cast that we usually do. So I think that's a great question though, Alex, and maybe while Brian's looking at it, he can compare Wolves turnovers on the road compared to at home. Yeah. I don't, That's a great point, though. I like that, Alex. That makes a lot of sense.
Good credit Christine for prompting the question. I hadn't realized it was such a stark difference in terms of not allowing goals. I know they win more at home, but wow. I mean,
yeah.
Bournemouth is the only place you could do. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's something that, a football director should look at, like, from everything. Like I said, hotel, pregame meal, like, are we letting them have too late of a curfew, stuff like that? You never know. It's just something as silly as that it could be. So, like, I think Brighton, it was very clear they were all at the beach at some point. Well, we did get to see Ruben Neves start, which, by the way, did you like my 2.5, Alex, from last week that I said at the over-under for Neves starts the rest of the year?
I did. And I like that you were credited for your bookmaking abilities by someone other than me. Danny recognized that you said some pretty good lines.
I work for a sports betting company. What can I say?
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. There were reports by a few that, there's already a deal with Neves in place to go to Barcelona. Fabrizio Romano said that Neves is going to wait for Barcelona, but he's not their priority. Then John Percy said, no, nothing's finalized, and Wolves are going to demand 45. I also saw something, I want to say it was The Athletic, and they said if he doesn't leave this summer, an extension is possible. Paul, I know we kind of talk about it a lot, but now we're getting down to, the nitty-gritty. 2 games left to go. Would you, if I'm a little frustrated that Barcelona is the name involved, because they're broke, they're trying to figure out how to afford Messi, and they just are always trying to trade off their trash to us. Do you think now, with the front office we have in place, like, that's not going to happen? We're not going to get pantsed by these guys?
Hopefully. And I think it's not just front office per se. I think probably Lopetegui is a lot more hands-on with all of this as well. So hopefully he's more directing the ship along with Large in terms of, if these players are leaving, what it's going to command based on replacements needed, or what it's needed to be invested elsewhere. So I'm of the certainly of the opinion that I don't really want it to be Barcelona, just because we're not sure what we're going to get. But then again, I'd be absolutely heartbroken to see him putting on another Premier League jersey. So I think we're damned if we do, damned if we don't with him at the moment.
He can go to, like, Juventus or somewhere, Brian.
Yeah,
I mean, is there anybody on Barcelona that we'd like to think about, like, if there was players involved? I know Dest got mentioned in there, and everybody thought, oh, yeah, Josh will be happy with the US, but Sergino Dest is not exactly popular amongst the real US men's national team fans, because you think we get frustrated by some of the guys now. Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anybody that catches your eye that maybe be like, okay, you guys can't afford 45 million, but you could throw these guys in?
Oh man, I don't know their roster well enough.
Alex, have you thought of, like, FIFA trades with this?
Well, so that, like, in terms of players that Barca would realistically be willing to part ways with, I don't think so. I mean, there was the whole Ansu Fati thing, but I don't believe he wants to come to Wolverhampton, so I think that would be like a Geddes thing all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Wolves have been linked to Abde Ezazuli, who I believe is a Moroccan. Like, he's not that early 20s, like, dribbling skills through the roof. Kind of feels like an Adama. Not particularly interested in that either. So, like, all the names that they've been linked to feel underwhelming. But just to expand on Paul's point, like, I don't want Neves to go somewhere else in the Premier League. and even if Barca offered the money, like I also don't want Neves going somewhere that he isn't a priority, because it would kind of stink to see him go to Barca, lose a player who's like the heartbeat of your city and your franchise or whatever. And he was, he's probably going to fall out of favor with a manager who's already said he doesn't want him, unless
He's a
that's a
jag.
negotiating tactic. Yeah,
he'd be a jag over there, just a guy.
They're clearly trying to hand the keys with Busquets retiring to Frankie de Jong, and it feels like Neves would be like a bit part player, once every couple games. Like that would be really sad to lose our king for that. I really just don't want that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Imagine how Leeds feels when Calvin Phillips comes on for 2 minutes at the end of a 3-0 game, Like I don't want to see that.
That's my worry with the fee that's been bandied around for him, in that I don't think that's the amount that Barcelona would be paying. I think that price has been set for a Premier League move. That this is what it's going to cost you if you really want him. If there's a bunch of Game of Thrones moving parts based on Declan Rice and where he could end up, and if he doesn't go somewhere, does Neves make that move instead? I think that 45 million or whatever it is based on potentially what Rice is worth, but bearing in mind that Neves has got a lot less length on his contract.
Do you mind if I just interject with my own no stupid question then?
Yeah,
I kind of like this. So if he has to play for another Premier League team, who's the most tolerable team that he could go to? Maybe a newly promoted, maybe like whoever wins that third spot in the playoff. Like,
well,
Luton
I think
Town,
we'd have
Ruben
to.
Neves.
Are we going to clarify it to like realistic or just anybody?
Let's say, I mean,
realistic-ish.
Like he's not. I jokingly said it. He's not leaving being the captain of Wolves for Luton Town, right? But
Brighton could be fun.
I thought Brighton would be interesting. I thought Newcastle. That seems like a move that a Newcastle they'd feel like would push them over the top. Not Man
I'm gonna
U.
feel guilty about Saudi, like rooting for a guy on a team that's being backed by Saudi money, and that's gonna bum me out.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not like all the other clubs are owned by people who murder people too. So
yeah. Maybe a Crystal Palace, something like that. Fulham. Yeah, I mean, I could see if it depends if part of with him leaving is wanting to go to like the big city with London, then he could throw in some of those teams. And obviously we don't want to see him at Arsenal, and he'd be doomed at Spurs like everybody else. But I don't know, like Fulham. I like Brighton though. Brighton seems like his type of style too.
I think it does, and plus, I don't think he cares about the big city. Like, I think he just wants to like be at home with his wife and kids and just like play football and just be a normal human being. Like, I think that's why we all love him so much. He just seems so great.
It's got to be It's got to be Champions League for me, and I can't have him going to Manchester United. Definitely not Liverpool. My two are probably Arsenal, or well, they're not going to get Champions League, but I could see him at Chelsea, especially with Pochettino.
No, don't. Chelsea's such a tire fire. Don't do it to him.
But that's the negative, that you're joining that massive squad at 45. So I think that rules them out, and it's probably Arsenal out of all of that.
Interesting.
The more we talk about this, the more it seems like he should really just stay. Honestly, he's like kind of in that sweet spot of not quite good enough for the top, cream of the crop, but too good for the other teams. I don't know.
Well, and here's what's interesting I'm finding with a lot of these. Wolverhampton, you go there, or a team like that, you're going to play all the time. You're not going to make the biggest salary. You're going to make a good salary, not the best salary. And the chances of playing Europe football, not great. Or you can take big money, go to a team like Barcelona or Chelsea or somewhere, but then you're not starting every game like you are for those smaller squads. Like you you could be one of those guys that's only coming on in the last 10 minutes of a match, or just starting like, friendlies or those midweek games when there's Champions League that they're focusing on. Paul, when it comes to English players, like, what do you think's more important to them, the playing time or the money, even if it means you're not playing?
It's a tricky one. I think it comes down to the playing time, I think, and it factors in that obviously that they've never had it so good, even if they aren't making that mega money. It's still a remarkably good salary and weekly wage even. So I think it goes into playing time, especially because it's a competitive league in terms of the players that are signed from abroad. Being an English player in the Premier League, there's not many of them. And that goes to show, I think, if you are getting a good amount of game time, for the most part, Southgate's been pretty open to bringing you into the international fold as well. You haven't had to be necessarily a top 6 player in order to play for England. So maybe that factors into it a little also.
There was also a report that Lopetegui was interested in re-signing Adama. Although I really feel like the headline was misleading, because you read the quote a little bit more and it's like, well, of course we'd like to keep him, but we'll have to see. And so the quote made it seem like, yeah, he's a priority, blah, blah, blah. Bravo to Chase Branch on Twitter for the fantastic meme from The Matrix of Morpheus holding a red pill, which was Adama Traore, and Weston McKennie, which was the green pill. And then Morpheus going, did you just take both pills, with my picture right there? So I thought that was fantastic. Bravo. But yeah, I think he's gonna be another one that's gone, Paul. I think I'm coming to just accept it. Neves. It's gonna be an odd squad next year. All the old guard that Alex and Brian and I were following when we first started to follow the team are leaving.
Yeah, definitely. End of a cycle for sure. End of an era. Really laying the ghost of Nuno and what he brought in the past.
Mm-hmm. Brian, who's going to be your favorite player if Neves and all these other guys go?
Joao Gomez.
Yeah, that is the correct answer. Alex, I think you're going to say the same thing, huh?
Yeah,
Or Lamina.
I mean, I was going to say
Oh, yeah,
Lamina is a
Lamina's fun
close
too.
second, and
Yeah.
and Lamina for future team captain is a good shout. I didn't realize what a great character he was until the Fraser stuff came out, and you realize he's like a really good guy, speaks perfect English. Great candidate.
No, I totally agree, because when he came in, all we kind of heard about that he was kind of like a selfish head case from Southampton, and it sounded like he grew up a ton. And you kind of forget, I think he's 28, 9. Is that right?
I believe he's 29. Yeah.
29.
Yeah, like he is a full-on adult, and he is apparently a very good
29.
adult.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next 2 games, and then what the summer's going to look like. Going to be an awful lot of changes.
Enjoying a whole lot of Wolves? Whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening, don't forget to rate and review the show so that we can make sure to continue to grow the pack. Thanks for listening, and up the mighty Wolves.
So let's look ahead, guys. The home finale against Everton. It's going to be a Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern kickoff, 9 a.m. Central for us, Paul. And here to help us preview that game is Sam Huston from the DU Football Show. How's it going, Sam?
Doing great, gentlemen. How you all doing?
Oh, pretty good. So it's now or never, huh? You only got 2 games left to go. You're currently safe, but not by much. How you feeling?
Staying up.
You're staying up. All right.
That's simple. We're staying up. It's you have to look at what everybody else is doing. And
Thank you.
Leeds going to London is never a good recipe for Leeds, as in ever a good recipe for Leeds. Now, I could totally see Leeds beating Tottenham the last game of the season at Ellen Road, just because Tottenham's going to piss off be getting into Europe. That's likely. West Ham has to get a win. They need to kind of, they're still in it. They're probably safe, but they're still in it. So they really need to get some points here. So I think that they're going to do that against Leeds this weekend. Now, for Leicester, I feel like Leicester's dead man walking. Next up is Newcastle at Newcastle. They're not winning that. And for us, frankly, and no offense to you guys, we've got the easiest draw of the teams at the bottom.
Yeah, it's true.
You all have been, since that Leeds loss at home, and sorry if I'm bringing up bad blood on that, y'all have been great. 4 wins. You've beaten every team you've needed to at home. You've looked good. But we also know I've been a fan of my side, and I've seen our side do this, and I'm sure you've seen your side do this as well. It's Dubai time already. And if we go up 1-0, you're on the sunny beaches already. It's done, right? Now it's your final home game. There's players that need to perform for Lopetegui. Like there's going to be motivation, but it's not our backs are against the wall. And if we win here, we're probably safe. So that's the buzzsaw that you run into. And you guys score a quick goal, we start pushing, then you score another goal. Suddenly we're in a lot of trouble. But we can come out of this with a draw and still be okay. Yep. We're still got goal differential. I mean, that was the beauty of what happened with us with City, was not lose by 4. We didn't lose by 4. That was really all we wanted to have come out of it.
So, Sam, there were reports a few weeks ago, like doomsday planning for Southampton, that they were planning for the Championship. Even on the weekend, John Percy Telegraph said similar about Leicester even. Has there been any thought to that as far as noise coming out of Goodison, or is it solely focused on survival above all everything else?
We really, pardon my French here, but our board are a bunch of fucking idiots. They haven't been at matches. They haven't been at matches. One of them made up a headlock. Denise Baxterdale made up that she got put in a headlock. There is no physical evidence of it. There is no police report of it. They aren't coming to matches. So the only thing that I've seen our club do to prepare for any doomsday scenario was they had the ushers out on the field making a big little, like a box around the tunnel to leave at the end of the match against City. That's it. And face it, we're, as one of those quote bigger clubs or established clubs, we don't write relegation clauses into any of our players' deals.
Right.
We're screwed. If we go down, we're big time screwed. We've mismanaged our finances for a very long time. And while we haven't spent a lot lately, and we do have one financial fair play charge against us, I mean, it's not 114 like City, but we'll get a 9-point deduction and they'll get nothing, right?
Nothing.
That'll work out. But we're in a bad way. And if we go down, I don't even know what our team will look like, because if our academy isn't even strong. I mean, we're not in a good place if that happens.
I was laughing. I said, I wonder if Sunderland comes up and Everton goes down, if Pickford goes back to Sunderland.
just to have a go at the Newcastle supporters.
Yeah.
A little bit of me wouldn't mind seeing Sunderland come up just so we can have a Tyne-Wear derby again. That would be just great. But also I'm kind of rooting for like Luton and Coventry as well. I'd like to see kind of a one of the quote smaller championship sides get up.
Yeah. So where exactly does the blame lie? I mean, you've definitely made your point about the board. Does Kevin Thewell come in for any of the blame?
No, not at all. How can you be a director of football when nobody allows you to direct football? Yeah, he's doing some things to improve our youth setup, but in good old Bill Kenwright fashion, we were more pressed about winning a academy Premier League title with a bunch of 24 and 25-year-olds than we were about actually making our team better and our program better back 5 years ago. And there's really been no improvement from that. Really, this is a long time coming. We gave it our best push with Carlo, but we also had to realize Carlo was going to be a short-term fix. He wasn't going to stick around. And the minute a prettier girl called, he was leaving us. And that's what happened. He went to Madrid, and don't blame him. And then we bring in the worst possible manager we could ever bring in Rafa Benitez, especially when we had James Rodriguez on the team and those two had bad blood. It was just
hate each other. Yeah.
It was a nightmare. And while I thank Frank for keeping us up last season, Frank's just not a very good manager. He's not really tactically, he's just not that smart of a manager. And you look at, I mean, a prime example would be when we played you in December. Don't push the action. It's a 1-1 draw. The game is over. Get long down the field, keep 4 people back. No, let's push everybody forward and let Antonori just tap one right in. Like, it was that was Frank in a nutshell. And then I don't blame Dyche. The players you blame at some level because they've got to be the ones to perform on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Dyche has done exactly what Dyche was supposed to do. And if we're up next year, I don't expect anything better than 12th. Honestly, I'd be lovely and happy with a nice, comfortable 12th place if we can manage to do that. But it ultimately falls on this board. This board and the owner, Farhad Mishiri, just don't really have any real communication. They don't have any real communication with the fans. And, hey, when things are going to shit, Bill Kenwright sends out a email to all the fans going, I know you all were concerned about my health, and I'm so glad that you all care about it. Now, Bill, we kind of want you to piss off.
So we have another connection, Sam, with our good friend Connor Cody. Tell us what the story's been there and any leaks on your side about what his situation will be come the summer. Again, probably contingent on what division you'll be in.
True. It's a $4 million buy clause. I would say the only reason why we would pick up that clause, because let's face it, Cody's on the wrong side of 30 at this point, and would be for depth. He came into the City match simply because we had run out of people, and we currently we're questionable at having a left back at best. We had Mason Holgate, who's a central defender and has played 31 minutes at left back, start against Manchester City this weekend. Like, that's not a good place to be in that situation. The Dyche isn't going to play a back 3, but we're losing Yuri Mina. Michael Keane's getting towards the end of his contract, and honestly, he's a Dyche guy, but he's not really got it. Do we bring back Jared Branthwaite from Holland, or do we sell a sellable asset? Because frankly, we need the money. We didn't bother to get public funding for the stadium that we've halfway built so far. Again, our board, a bunch of idiots. Again, only if it's for depth, but I really don't. I doubt it will happen.
That's interesting because we thought on our side that it was an obligation clause. So it is not an obligation?
Not to my understanding. If it is, then we have to, but I don't. He won't get much time. It would be nothing more than depth. That would be it. And I mean, as you guys already painfully know, he doesn't play in a 4 very well. He drops back too far, It's like when you play in a 4, you have a center back right next to you. You need to stay even with him, not 5 yards behind him, which that's why he got pulled for Michael Keane the first time. It was because he was falling back too far, leaving everybody on, and people were just getting open looks, and he just wasn't working within the system.
Interesting. Oh, I'd love to have him back. Funny thing, Paul, when I was trying to debate what club I was going to root for, Everton was my second choice. I went with Wolves, but I nearly went with Everton just because I liked some of their signings that they were making, because I was making the same signings in FIFA, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we're an old blue collar club.
Yeah.
I would say it is worth mentioning, just looking at the history of our two clubs since Wolves promotion in 2018. To be honest, a bunch of dud matches. Like, our matches against each other have not been good. The 2-2 draw when you guys got promoted at the Molineux was fabulous.
Yeah.
And then there was a 3-0 victory where a black cat got more press than the actual match. Those are games 1 and 2. You know, other than that, we love to have a lot of 1-0s, 2-1s.
I like the game in December, the 8-0 game. I like that one a lot.
The end of the game was the only excitement. Other than that, it was a crap match.
It's very
I'll
true.
Be honest, I suspect the same in this one. I think it's a 1-0 to either side, maybe a 1-1. I don't see 2 or 3 goals in this match, and it's really, we score first, you guys are at the beach. If you score first, we're going to try to push the action. Maybe we draw it. Maybe you go up 2-0. That's it's. I'd love to say that there's not a formula to it, but at this time of the year, you watch it across the board with every single club, and that it really is. That's the formula.
I think what he's saying, Paul, is the prediction that you're going to make a little bit later in the show. Probably not going to happen, but hey.
I mean, if I could give a zing here, you know, you guys went to Brighton, didn't go so well. We went to Brighton, went exceptionally well.
Sam, you've got a great podcast yourself. Do us a favor and give a plug to that to our listeners who might be wanting to take a listen.
Absolutely. The DU Football Show, wherever you get your podcasts of platform of choice, we're all over the place. DU Football Show on Twitter. We normally record live on Monday nights. We're going to be getting ready to do that with my co-host, who I have the great misfortune of getting to watch a grown man cry tonight because he's an Arsenal supporter. And we drink a lot, we cuss a lot, and we cover the entire Premier League. So as I always like to tell people, you know, go to Whole Lot of Wolves, go to the American Toffee Pod, go. If you want to find out about your club, listen to the podcasts that are specifically talking about your club. If you want to know a little bit about the whole league, and it's not all Big Six talk, we're opening with Southampton going down. That's the opening segment. And one time we opened with a 4-4 draw from Huddersfield Town and West Ham. So whatever the best game is, that's what we open with. So we're not going to sit here and just talk City, Liverpool the whole time. Also, I wouldn't be doing the show if I had to talk about Liverpool all the time. But yeah, that's it. Give us a listen. We're a lot of fun. Definitely not when your kids are around or when you're at work, because lot of F-bombs.
Love it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck for the season, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks to Sam Huston from the DU Football Show for helping us get a little preview of the Everton match. Guys, I had said weeks ago, I just wanted this match to have nothing riding on it for Wolves. Mission accomplished. But Paul, do you still think this is going to be a very good crowd and a good performance, seeing that we have a chance to potentially put a nail in Everton's coffin, depending on other results?
I don't think the opposition's going to dictate how we come out. I think it's going to be a case of hopefully they play a little more relaxed, knowing that it's the last home game this season. They want to go off with those good vibes. If we do have those departing players that will be missed, then they go with everything being positive. But I do think it genuinely a lot rests on how Everton approach it. It could go either two ways. That they've got to win, that they could come all guns blazing. It could be another Brighton, or they could come all guns blazing and we pick them off and it's 3 or 4-0 within 20
Yeah.
minutes. Either way, I'm genuinely haven't got a clue how Saturday's going to turn out.
That's going to be interesting. So I'm going to go through some guys, and you have to tell me if they're going to start, if they're going to come off the bench, or if they're not going to play. We'll start with Neves. Paul, I think this is an easy one.
Neves is going to start.
Okay. Brian,
Start.
Alex.
Start.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see if he plays the full 90. Because Paul, I think it was you that brought it up, or maybe it was Danny, him being pulled off at like the 70th minute to get a nice applause. Okay, Raul. Paul.
Start.
Brian.
For that scenario.
Off the bench.
Off the bench. Alex.
Bench.
I think he starts too, Paul. I think Lopetegui kind of knows. Bentley. Paul.
Bench.
Brian.
Start. I think he earned it from that last game.
Interesting. Alex.
Bench.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of think so too. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him between the posts. Podence. Paul.
Bench.
Brian.
God.
Alex.
Yeah, I'm with Brian. Out of the team.
Yeah,
I think so too. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be on the squad. 8 Paul.
Doesn't make the squad.
Brian.
same.
Sorry, Alex.
I'll go bench. If you're gonna sell him, he's got to be active at some point.
Here's another hard one. Moutinho. Paul.
Bench.
Brian.
To come on for a swan song.
I think he'll start, honestly. I think that he's the one I think he'll get the sentimental start. How about all of them?
Interesting. Alex?
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with Brian on that one. Comes off early, like 55th or 56th minute or something.
Yeah.
I could see that. Let's see. Am I forgetting anybody? Well, Matthias. Paul.
Bench, but not for anything untoward.
Brian.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that's really more around who else they're getting to play, not him being punished. Honestly, I thought he was the best midfielder in the Man U game.
Yeah, agreed.
Alex.
Yeah, I think bench because somebody's got to come out for Moutinho.
Yeah, that's what I
could be him.
Yeah. And finally, our beloved, sweet oiled god, Adama Traore, Paul.
I think he'll start.
Interesting.
Be nice.
Brian.
I think I'll come off the bench.
Alex.
I think he might throw him a start.
I'd love to see him throw a start. I think it'll be more bench though, but I'd love to see it.
Am I crazy or were his arms dry on Saturday? He didn't
I
look
didn't
very
notice.
shiny.
That's why we lost.
I was watching it out, and even the Man United fans in the bar were saying, "Where's the oil? Where's the oil?" And I was like, "Wow, they're right."
Maybe somebody forgot to bring it. The equipment manager goofed up. Interesting.
Could be.
Yeah, it's going to be a different atmosphere. It's going to be, interesting to see. I almost feel like that's the most interesting part of the game for Wolves side is who gets honored, who starts, who gets the middle finger potence, that kind of stuff. Alex, there's another no stupid question while we're talking about this.
Yeah, Wolfman Jeff and Slim, aka Soccer in the South, asked which players not getting minutes are most likely to win over Lopetegui in the next 2 games, and which players do you think he has already made up his mind about? So it's kind of an offshoot of what we were talking about, but who do you think could make an impression here in the last couple games?
I mean, I think he's definitely made his mind up about Lamina and João Gomez. Believe it or not, I think these are an important 2 games for Neto, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Brian, you think so too?
I think so too, because I think Lopetegui really likes him, but he keeps not quite doing the business.
Yeah.
Another one
there you
for
go.
me would be Sarabia, and
Mm.
not because
Yeah.
I don't think he's under threat, but he's flaky form a little bit, still finding his feet. It could be one that if there's some moving parts, he could be under threat. But I think there's a player in there and enough versatility that, again, give him a proper pre-season, have him embedded into the squad a little bit more would be okay. But there's probably one eye toward him.
But who has made his mind up on with the Eight Nori thing is going to be really interesting. With the whole economics of Eight Nori's contract, or not contract, but the sell-on fee to Angers,
Right.
where I think in order for them to even make a profit, they need to sell him for like 25
20.
or more.
Well,
oh yeah, 20.
20 is the break even
20
because
is the
that's
break even. Yeah,
yeah, they paid 10, but still have
the
only have
50% sell-on
50%.
fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So between him and Bueno and Ryan Giles, who has been destroying the championship, that
And
kind of like
Toady, don't forget
and
about
Toady.
Toady.
Oh yeah, but
Mhm.
yeah, but I do. My personal thing, I'd like to see Toady more in centrally than on the left. But he's done a good job on the left. I will say he's
Yeah.
been pretty solid back there. But whether or not he'll get more of a chance, and I do get the sense that Lopetegui really values people who like really show like wear their hearts on their sleeves a lot more. And I think that this seems to be the problem with both Raul and Eight Nord, that they kind of give off the impression that they always can't be bothered. I mean, they're just not intense. They're not emotive enough for him. Maybe I don't know.
I think
That'd
what
be
he
interesting.
I think what Lopetegui also really likes is the guys that don't get much playing time, but then when they do come in and show something, he loves that. For instance, Collins, when Collins came in a couple months ago, he made a big deal about pointing out Collins, and in anytime he likes to see those guys still working hard and ready when that time comes. So
Like Toady.
Collins is very interesting. Yeah, like Toady. Yeah.
To that point, just it's a bit of a stretch answer to Wolfman's question, but Paul, do you think Gilman still has something to prove? He's not beyond replacing. I mean, we were in the market for a center back before, Dawson got there.
I think my one on Kilman is that potential shock departure that we've always been known for cashing in if there's an apparent deal to be made. And I do think at his age, English premium, left-footed premium, potentially we've got cover for Toty there anyway. If we could and Collins on Dawson's side, I think if we could, if he could be on the market, and I think if we got an overinflated price for him, we could see him depart.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that too. All right, guys. Well, let's look at predictions here. This is the last home game of the year. And Paul's running out of chances to finish in last place. Paul, you still have 17. Alex, you have 21. I've got 23. And Brian, the guest spot, has 29, even though you've only contributed one of those points.
I was going to ask if I had any.
That was
you
got a draw against Fulham late on. So, all right, let's see. I'll let you start, Brian. Who you got?
I'm having a hard time between my head and my heart. I want it to be a comfortable 2-0 win, kind of send everybody off, but I worry that they have more to play for than we do. So I think I'm probably going to have to go for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Okay. I'm the only one showing faith in the win, huh? Which means, of course, loss is upcoming, I'm sure. Okay, Alex, what do you got?
I am going to say 1-1.
1-1 draw.
Keep going with that.
Oh, okay. Paul?
I am going for some total end of season craziness with them having something to play for and us showing no signs of scoring more than one goal, so I'm going 3-3.
3-3. Now, Paul, I will say this. You're not going to catch any points on anybody if no matter what, if you have the same result
If everyone's
as
going
Alex.
draws.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have
Okay.
to hope it would be 3-3.
Yeah. Okay, I'll keep my craziness. That's fine.
Okay. I'm gonna say 3-2 Wolves because I do think it's gonna be an open game, and I do think some of the guys are gonna want to go out with a bang. So 3-2 Wolves. Alex, what no stupid questions do we have this week?
Got some more good ones that we haven't touched on already. No stupid questions. Your time as the listener to ask us anything that you want to ask us. And the questions usually roll in Mondays on Twitter at WLWpod. They sure did this week. So let's continue with them. Dan Wilkes asks, we're going to lean on you this pretty heavily for this one, Josh. Brian, maybe you too. For the English Premier League season, this 2022-23 season, you have to compare and contrast Wolves' 2 mini seasons in terms of Nicolas Cage movies. So he's referring to the first half of the season being like the Bruno Lage era up to the World Cup, and then, the Lopetegui era till present day. Which movies of Nicolas Cage's would you compare this to?
It's tough here. So I'm gonna say the first half of the year is Leaving Las Vegas, because that was depressing as hell, as it was for us in the first half of the year. So that's what I'd go with. As for the second half, man, I don't know. It's got to be something kind of fun, but can be a little bit of a train wreck at times. So I guess you could say maybe Con Air.
Aren't all Nicolas Cage movies kind of fun and kind of a train wreck at the same time?
That this is 100% true. This is 100% true. Actually, let's say National Treasure. It seemed a little over the top in parts, a little hard to believe, but somehow in the end, Benjamin Franklin Gates got it done and achieved his goal. What do you think, Brian?
Exactly what I was going to say for the second half as well. I want to say thank you, Dan, also from Charlotte. Gave me a little bit of a heads up on this question because he's been giving me the business. He's going to come up with something a little over the top and tricky for me to think about. So I did spend some time on IMDb this afternoon trying to figure out some good examples. And did you know that Nicolas Cage was in 107 movies?
The man is not hard up for work, that's for sure.
Most of which I have never heard of.
Sadly, I'm looking at it right now. Sadly, I've heard of probably 80% of these.
Yeah, and I've seen about 6 of them many times, but about 90 of them I'd never seen. But the descriptions, a lot of them were pretty similar, surprisingly. But yes, so yeah, I had my first half of the year, I said Left Behind because you kind of read the synopsis, you're like, oh, you kind of watch the first 10 minutes, you're like, oh, this looks interesting. This might actually be good. And then it was kind of poorly executed and boring and kind of wooden. It just didn't really go anywhere and kind of just ended as just kind of like a bleh. And then I said National Treasure as well for my second half because it was a bit of a wild ride. They're being very clever. They're always looking for answers. And they're using smarts over brawn to try and come up with a way you're going to try and solve all your problems. And to your point, end of the day, save the day. You're going to be safe.
Another one that you could say for that first half would be City of Angels with Big Sassy playing the role of Meg Ryan. Yeah. She's the angel, and then she gives up being an angel, then gets hit by a car immediately. Yeah, that's the story of Big Sassy. We're all excited. Yay, it's a great day. He's riding a bike and then runs into a car.
Yeah, for so uplifting for 15 minutes, then horribly depressing for an hour and 20. And then going into next year, I'm going to extend this a little bit. Next year will be Face Off because it's going to be wild. We have no idea who anybody is.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Paul, do you have any thoughts on it? I know you've seen a few of these.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is, do you know when they say you should never judge a book by its cover?
Uh-huh.
I've just Googled them all and I'm going to base it off what the pictures are.
Okay.
So I think the first half of the season is USS Indianapolis because
Oh, Jesus.
it just looks bad. So
Do you know what that is, Paul?
no.
Okay, I'll let you finish, then I will explain what that movie is.
Okay. And then the second half of the season is Captain Corelli's Mandolin, just because you've kind of got to get through it. It's like one that you could only watch with your significant other, and they really want to watch it, and you have to. So those are my two.
Okay, so
That's good. I like that.
has everybody here seen Jaws?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the speech Quint is making about his tattoo in the USS Indianapolis, that's what that's about. USS Indianapolis, this is a real story. They delivered the bomb to Hiroshima, and on the way back, they were sunk by a Japanese sub. Well, their mission was so top secret that nobody knew that they had been sunk for like 5 days until they didn't show up. And it turned out like all the people ended up in the water. And then the sharks came, and the sharks ate like 60% of the people that had survived the boat sinking. And so like when they were rescued like a mid-water rescue essentially, and there were people and the whole show's like that. And then Nicolas Cage's character, the captain, actually gets court-martialed over it. Again, a true story, and kills himself because he can't stand living with the guilt anymore.
Except for the very end, that sounds like an apt comparison. We do something good. On the way back, we get blown apart. We kind of wait for it around for a while. And
The
then
sharks come.
the helicopter with Yuri and Lopez start scooping people out of the water.
Sounds good. All right. I like it. Let's move on to our final one. From Michael Moser, who asks, what Saturday morning cartoon characters would some Wolves players be?
Well, definitely Potence is in Smurfs, right? 100%.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Or
Yeah.
Scrappy Doo, because everyone thinks he's a little shit. And
That's better.
That ruined Scooby Doo forever when they introduced that little turd.
That's even better. That's great, Scrappy Doo. Who would be Scooby Doo then? Killman? Killman seems like a Scooby Doo.
Like big and the little, he's got kind of like a little dopiness going on there.
Doesn't talk really.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Saw
say
would
words.
be Shaggy. Saw would be Shaggy. Let's see. So, what Saturday morning cartoons did you watch in England, Paul?
I think all of ours were imports. So I was He-Man, Transformers, Mask, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles before the
Hero
Ninja.
Turtles.
Yeah, they didn't call them Ninja because Ninja was too violent, even though you had nunchucks and flying swords and everything. So
wait, was the content the same? Have they just changed the name?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty sure it was.
Really got him off the scent with that one.
Yeah. Thundercats, that was in there. So that was my era of Saturday morning cartoon watching.
So He-Man would have to be Adama, right? Or Lamina.
In his pomp, it would have been like Raoul, like comes to life and is the absolute hero and number 9 and scores. But yeah, muscle bound and everything would be one of those guys.
Lamina would be Sergeant Slaughter from G.I. Joe.
Ooh, G.I. Joe. I forgot about that one. That's a good one. I feel like Diego would be like Megatron in Transformers. Yeah. Brian, what's some ones you got?
So yeah, I was very much like a Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters kid. Transformers was a little overconfident to be like Cliff Jumper from Transformers. That might be Sumato, where he's kind of like charging around doing stuff. I'm not really sure what he's gonna do, but it might be interesting, it might not.
Darkwing Duck, I could see that being a like a Netto thing, Darkwing Duck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Rescue Rangers. Would there be anybody from Rescue Rangers? Chippendale? Jao Gomez and Cunha would be Chippendale.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I was a 90s kid, so Rugrats was huge for us, based on appearances, similar to the Sideshow Bob thing. Eight Nori is definitely Chucky from Rugrats. And then I think mostly because they've been annoying me lately and the height discrepancy, I had the duo of Raul and Podence as Pinky and the Brain.
Yes, that's great. I could see Podence being like one of those when we take over the world.
Yeah, totally. There's little social media jabs. Oh man. Thanks to everyone who wrote in your no stupid questions. Again, WLW Pod is the show's Twitter handle, and if you'd like to send us your questions via email, you can do that as well. hello@wholelotofwolves.com is our email address.
Awesome. And Brian, Wolves or some iteration of Wolves are heading your way this summer. You want to talk about the TST 7-on-7 tournament?
Yes. So as you were just mentioning, from June 1st through 4th in Cary, North Carolina, which is in the suburb of Raleigh, will be a $1 million winner take all sevens tournament, which includes some pretty big clubs. Who's going from those big clubs still TBD. So they're announcing that on May 23rd. But so far, some of the clubs include Wolves, West Ham, Dortmund, Wrexham, Charlotte FC. The U.S. women's national team is sending a group of alums. Como 1907 from Patrick Catrone fame is sending a club. Whether Patrick Catrone, who knows? Clint Dempsey is putting together a team, plus a myriad of others. And it looks like it's gonna be a really good time. So actually, we got a couple folks from Charlotte who are going up. David, is it Copper Copy from New York? Copy is joining as well. And another Wolves fan from Fayetteville, North Carolina will be coming up. So we're hoping to try and drum some extra folks to come join us. I think it'll be a really good time. So basically it is at the Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. Getting there is about 15 minutes from Raleigh Airport, hour-ish from Greensboro, about 2.5 from Charlotte. The way the structure is going to be set up is there's day sessions on, so it's basically 8:30 to like 3 on Thursday and Friday, and then like a 5 until 11 also on Thursday and Friday to do the group stages in the quarter in the round of 16. And then it'll be on Saturday, I believe it's like a 9 to 3 and a similar thing. So 9 to 3 and then 5 to 11 for the quarters and semis, and then the finals on Sunday itself. Tickets are $35 per session, but that obviously covers the entire section. So for example, like I'm going to go on Thursday night, Friday day, and Saturday day, because unfortunately Friday night sold out. But Thursday night we go up, that'll be, I think, 16 games across 2 fields. Just kind of, you guys kind of have you don't have a specific seat, you're just kind of moving around general admission to all the different games to try and check out and see what's going on. So it looks like it'd be a lot of fun. So there's gonna be, like, I know there's some hotel blocks that are not too far away. I was doing a bunch of Googling. There's a bunch of like Marriott's and like more of the inexpensive Marriott's and Hiltons that are within a short drive of the complex. So I said, We get a chance to see Wolves on U.S. soil. They had said they haven't announced who's going yet, but they said it's going to be a combination of former players and academy people, including at least one person from the Golden Chance program, which is an American academy program. Which I don't know if you all remember the episode that Nate Hughes in his Soccer Neophytes podcast did last year, where they interviewed the folks from Wolves Academy and trying to set up that kind of complex in Arizona around getting folks into the funnel into that academy program to the UK. There'll be at least one person from that, so there'll probably be some other folks from the club there as well. It looks like a really good time, and so we're hoping to get some extra Wolves fans out to start, just to meet each other, see each other in real life, which has been a really good time every time we've done it, and a good chance just to see some old gold on this side of the States.
That's awesome.
Is there any way to, I think there's a Facebook group about it, isn't there, to get in touch?
Yes. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I didn't include the website. The website is thetournament.com. We do have a Facebook group from the kind of Wolves USA Facebook group of people who've been kind of posting their plans as well. It was literally just called the Wolves TST 7v7. It's a public group. So yeah, so people are kind of posting their plans in there. Hop on in. We'll do some more posts in the Wolves USA Facebook group as well. Like I said, if anyone has any questions or even just questions about the area or kind of how to get around, feel free to reach out to me, and we can help try and figure out kind of where people are staying, how to get here, etc. Because we just would love to have some extra folks come into town.
So that brings this week's episode to an end. We're going to be back this time next week. We're going to review everything what happens in the penultimate home game of the season, and then it'll be a preview of the last, which is a trip to the Emirates to take on Arsenal. So as always, thanks for listening, and up the mighty Wolves.